Continuity Conversations on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by 337. Find out more by going to 337.ca. It's time for another episode of Continuity Conversations with 337's CEO, Derryn Shrosbree. Derryn, it's great to chat with you.
Hey, Shaun. Nice to chat again. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's hard to believe. We're on step 6. Okay, through our journey here through the 7 continuity steps. And step 6 is interesting. This is where a lot of the friction happens, Derryn, especially for the farms that don't pay attention to these kind of steps and do the process properly. And there's a saying in succession planning of equal's not fair and fair is not equal. Step 6 is, do you love your on-farm and off-farm children equally? Yikes, Derryn, that seems like a pretty contentious question.
It's meant to be. Yeah, it's meant to position it and to get people to the root of what are we doing here and why are we doing it. So yes, I worded it in a very specific way so that you cannot maneuver around it. It hits you straight up.
Okay, so I assume people's answer would be yes. If your answer is no, that maybe takes us down a bit of a different path. I'm not sure, but
yeah, that's not always yes. It's definitely not always yes.
If everybody's in the room, this could be very awkward. I guess if the answer is yes, what are we doing?
Yes. So let's start with that. I like the yes one, by the way. Predominantly, it is yes. There are some interesting folks that have the no or the maybe. There's a maybe folks as well. Yeah. Those are the most tricky. The maybe is the most tricky, by the way. Anyway, so let's go yes. So let's just use an easy example. Let's say they have 3 kids, all right, and you love them equally, and you have 1,000 acres. And so you can extrapolate the numbers. Most people have 10,000 or 100,000, whatever the case may be. So you have 1,000 acres, you have 3 kids. Great stuff. 1 on farm, 2 off farm, right? You have 1,000 acre farm. Obviously, if you take that farm and you split it into 300 pieces, the viability of the farm will go to 0. It's not farmable. The farm will break down, right? So we cannot split the farm up through a third, because it's not a pie. We can't split the pie up, right? But you can split a pie up, but you can't split the farm up and keep the farm viable. So too, if there's 3 kids, all 3 of those kids, can the farm manage all 3 of them being on farm? Most farmers say no, they cannot. They can't handle 3 families, but we'll get to that later. So love your kids equally. 3 kids, 1 on farm, 2 off farm. Farm 1,000 acres. Let's say it's worth $10 million. Easy math, right? So your $10 million farm, and you are now sort of transitioning out, and you're trying to figure out who gets what when I die, who gets my stuff, right? So to your point, equal is not fair, fair is not equal, correct?
Yep.
So how do we divide it? Any ideas?
Well, I think a common tool here is, we don't divide it. We try to find outside the farm operation ways to at least not find equality, but at least try to find fairness, if that's possible.
You hit the nail on the head. Finding fairness is key. Finding fairness. It starts with a conversation. Pretty much, once again, I always go back to, what does the farmer want? What do you want as the farmer? Not what your kids want, not what everyone else does. It's your farm, it's your money. What do you want? How would you like the farm to continue? Most farmers say, I'd like the farm to continue because I got it from my parents and they got it from their parents, etc., etc. So we set up a very, very easy thing, which is fair is not equal and equal is not fair, as you've said before. So the on-farm child, he gets the 1,000 acres. There's $10 million of enterprise value there. So you can go to a bank and go and borrow X amount of $1 million and encumber the farm with that debt. Do you think that's a good option?
Possibly.
It's an option. It was a good option when land value was at $300 an acre. With land value at 4,000, 5,000, 8, 10, 12,000, it's very difficult because the the loan amount is so big that the interest expense can often the farm cannot handle the interest expense on the loan. And if I can camera back for a second, this whole continuity planning situation has accelerated, right, to epic status, like crisis status, because of the value of land, right? The value of land has driven this conversation into what is now a crisis, because when acreage was $300 an acre, $600 an acre, continuity wasn't that difficult. But now, like the same farmer from the 70s and 80s that was worth $5 million, he could easily be worth $100 million because of the land value increase, right? $5 million, easy to solve, go into a bank, borrow 500 grand and give it to your kids. How do you go and borrow $20 million from a bank, which encumbers the farm? By the way, the on-farm kid will absolutely hate this strategy because he has to pay the interest expense and he has to pay the loan back.
Yeah.
How does the farm pay a $20 million loan back to give two off-farm kids $10 million each? Like, it makes no sense.
It actually sinks the farm potentially. Like if you can't generate the cash flow, you're sinking the farm. It's just a
You
slower
are.
death.
It is. It's death by 1,000 cuts or death by 1,000 interest payments, right?
Yeah.
So cutting the farm up acreage-wise kills the farm. Going to the bank now because acreage is so expensive, getting a loan to equalize an estate is ruinous for the farm. So the two options, very, very uncool. The third option is do nothing. And that's what 88% of farmers is the do nothing approach. What they say is, I'm just going to go plant canola. It's going to be fine. By the way, it's not. It's not going to be fine. It's not going to be fine at all because your kids are not going to have dinner together because the family will be torn asunder. It will, because it happens all the time in agriculture. People start suing each other. It becomes a train wreck. Why? Because of the value of the farms are so big now that beforehand people didn't care. Oh, dad's got a farm, it's worth $3 million. Hang on a sec, dad's got a farm, it's worth $100 million. Now there's undue interest and not good. Okay, so how do we fix the estate plan so that A, there's good rules in place, and B, your family still has supper together on the 25th of December, right? So we can't sell acreage, doesn't work. Can't split it. We can't load the farm with debt because it'll wreck the farm. Don't do nothing because it's going to end in the same disaster as the first two, right? So the fourth option, and we alluded to this in the last continuity conversation, is the farm goes out and buys life insurance. There's two ways to do it. In the next segment, we'll discuss the second way for estate equalization. But the easiest way for estate equalization is because you're going to die. So the farm buys a life insurance policy. Let's just say it's worth $2 million, right? So $2 million. So the premium is 200,000. Easy math. So 200,000 goes from the farm to the insurance company. As last segment, we borrow back the 200,000. So you have the same amount of money. You continue farming as if this never happened, right? But you have this $2 million life insurance policy that grows every year and vests, which means the value can't go down. This is very important. Vesting means it grows, 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 grows. You die 20 years from now, right? The loan is paid off. That's the first piece. Whatever's left over, which is a huge amount of money, will be paid to in this example, the two off-farm children. So the on-farm child gets the acreage, it's worth 10 million. The off-farm kids, let's say the death benefit was 3 million, the loan was $1 million, right? So there's $1 million loan that's paid off. Then there's $2 million of cash. The off-farm kids get $1 million cash each, right? That's fair. It's not equal, but it's fair because they didn't work in the farm. And what a lot of off-farm children don't realize is not only do the people that on-farm, they get the asset, but they also get the liabilities and the risk. It's not free money. They get the liability, they get the risk, they get the 4 a.m., right? Every day. So that's what they're like, oh, dad gave him $10 million. No, he didn't. He gave him $10 million with a $4 million loan, 3 combines that need to get serviced, and all this other risk that goes along with it, quota, tariffs, you know it, right? So there's got to be a conversation about, guys, the on-farm is not just getting $10 million in cash. He's getting a whole lot of liability and a whole lot of risk, right? You guys off-farm, you're getting $1 million cash, right? That means that if the conversation is done properly, everyone is delighted because the farmer gets the farm, the off-farm kids get the cash, and everyone has dinner and they play Catan for hours.
Okay, so
Yeah.
for the whole life policy, it's a corporate policy. And is the beneficiary the off-farm kid?
No, the
It's
beneficiary is
not.
the farm.
It's the
The
corporate
farm,
entity.
yes, it's the corporate entity. The farm pays the bill. The farm owns the policy. When you die, the policy pays into the farm, which creates a capital dividend account surplus. It's called a CDA.
Yep.
That capital dividend account surplus is the way to tax-free, is to get that the proceeds of the life insurance tax-free to the beneficiaries, which are written down in the will. Hence, you
Mm.
kind of need a will to direct that money exactly to where is it going? Where's it going, and who's getting it, right? So do you see how everything's intertwined?
Yeah.
You know, so,
So how do you deal with the contentiousness of, and I kind of asked this question a little bit before, but so although on-farm child or offspring takes on the risk, and there is equity there or there is a value there, but they have the opportunity to make money from this family asset. The off-farm kids, they're basically waiting for mom or dad to die before they're able to reap some financial rewards from their lifelong work. Is there way to satisfy them financially in the interim, or is it basically, listen, you made the decision not to farm, that kind of goes with that decision, you just got to wait?
yes. You can do what's called a warm handshake inheritance. So you can use, so for example, remember in the last segment we discussed the loan piece a little bit.
Yep.
So the farm can take the loan, right? And you can actually give it to the off-farm children, right? And then when you
Right.
die, the loan is paid. You can do that. That's a warm handshake inheritance. So you can start funneling, let's just call it $1 million to the off-farm kids. You can funnel that 100 grand a year each year for 10 years. And in that way, get them money today, right?
Mhm.
And then when you die, the loan is paid off. They don't get anything because they were prepaid, so to speak. So yes, there are mechanisms to get people money while you're still alive. And most farmers are like call it 70-ish. You still got at least 10 to 15 good years ahead of you, right? So you can do your estate equalization play while you're still kind of farming, kind of transitioning out whenever you wish, because it doesn't encumber the farm. Remember, because the life insurance, pay the bill, get the money back, send it to the kids, warm handshake inheritance.
Yeah.
You die, loans paid off, kids are happy, Catan on the 25th of December.
Okay, so time flew here. We haven't even covered what happens if the answer is no. What happens if you don't love all of
Right.
your
So
children
this, this
equally?
so there's 7 steps in the continuity plan. This is going to have to be, what are we on? Six?
This might have to be like 6B.
6A. Yeah. So this is 6A. We have to do 6B, 6C, and then come back to 7, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
you, I guess, fill me in. What happens?
Um, so yeah, if you don't love your children equally, then it's actually not that simple. You just give everything to the one child and know that there will be some hard conversations. As long as you have a good will and all that kind of good stuff is sorted out, or you put it into a trust. So you need to once again remember the undue influence, because if they feel like they've been hard done by, there will be lawsuits. So how do we do that? Well, if you say only one child's getting everything, you have to get sort of full and final releases written by the kids saying everything's going to Johnny and we're not getting anything. We're okay with that. And they get that signed. So there are legal ways to make sure that after your death, because sometimes they won't stand up to their parents. So you'd be like, oh, yeah, it's dad. It's fine. I don't want anything. But as soon as you die, that changes. We're like, I want everything.
Yeah.
Right. So there's paper. There's got to be, good fences make good neighbors. So we have to set that up beforehand.
Darren, I think there's an element here. Honestly, like what comes to mind is if you don't, at least pretend you do to prevent this thing from being a massive financial blow up in the courts
Yes.
post death, right?
Yes. And it starts with the person who's leaving, who has the most financial wherewithal on the farm. That's the primary. Once the primary is gone, you have to, before the primary is gone, there has to be paper put in place, lots of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not complicated. It doesn't take a long time. We have to have the conversations, and the conversations are exactly what we're having here with continuity conversations. And it's not siloed. It's multifaceted, because It is the will. It is the trust. It is the estate freeze. It is the tax-free zone, which is the not pay tax in April, et cetera, et cetera. So if you put all components together, then you get something which is bulletproof. If you're just firing one or two, yes, it's better than nothing. But once again, you're not going to be optimized. And a lawyer can come and say, oh, well, that's not fair. My client needs X. So,
Well, I think some people are going to misinterpret maybe my last comment as being like kind of cold, and the reality is here. Listen, it's a family business, and so you're essentially trying to do three things. You've got the family component, you've got the business component, and then you've got like, okay, what's right for those two things together, and
yeah.
creating a situation that just ends up in the courts at the end of the day is not keeping that thing together. It's thinking about just the business, not the family. And if you don't have the family part, you have explosion.
Yeah, because then all you're doing is you're working for the lawyers. Because the only
Yeah.
person that's going to get paid then is the lawyers. That's
And
it.
they send
So
invoices, man. They do not do anything for free.
they're not shy. They're not shy. Yeah.
They
So
are
we're trying to
not.
kill the invoices and kill the billable hour. Not the lawyer. They're good people. We need them. But
Yeah.
yeah. So there we go.
Yeah. Well put. Okay, Derryn, thanks a lot for joining us here today. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Shaun. Thanks again. Awesome.